are you being a silly bottom today? Why are you being a silly man? There you go, my big boy. There you go. Hello, handsome. Would you like to do some filming today? So guys, a little disclaimer before we get into the video. There is going to be some footage and some pictures of the dead snake. There's no blood or gore. There is slight decomposition, but just a heads up for all you guys out there watching this. What's up all you cool snakes and neonates? How's it going? I hope you're all keeping well. Reptile Rich and the beautiful big Mr. Hunter here. We're going to talk a bit about something that's happened at a local beach to me here today. I seen it on Facebook and on the newspapers there had been a giant python found on the beach, just like Hunter here. But the python found on the beach was a reticulated python, very close relative of Mr. Hunter. They're both found in the same region, Southeast Asia. So let's dive into some of the footage and some of the pictures that I've had sent to me, guys, and see what we can, if we can make any sense of this situation. We're going to talk about what can be done if you're ever in this situation, you find a big snake or something like that out in the public where it shouldn't be. Hunter, why are you being silly today? Come here. So the story was that a dog walker found this snake on the beach at about, I think it was 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning. As you can see from the footage here, the snake has been dead quite some time. There's some serious decomposition on it. There are even stones sitting on top of the body at some points, which indicates to me that the snake has been there, has either come in with the tide or the tide's come in over the snake, and it has left sort of stones and debris on top of the snake. You can see the eyes are all sunken in and non-existent. It's definitely been dead for quite some time. Unfortunately, because of the decayed condition of the animal, I can't really speculate on how it died. It does look like it has burns down its back, but that again could just be decomposition. Now, anything anyone is saying on social media or anything like that is all just speculation. There are people putting up comments, it's a pet that's been dumped, it's definitely this, it's definitely that. The fact of the matter is, we won't know. It could have come from a really responsible owner, that it may have just gotten out and unfortunately died in our local climate. It could have been an owner that couldn't afford vet's bills to save the animal. The animal might have died, the owner not know how to properly dispose of it. It could even have washed ashore from somewhere else. There could be 110 explanations for this. It may not be a simple dumping, and it's with most reptiles that could be the case. Snakes especially are escape artists, and they love to get out and about, and they love to explore, although Hunter is trying his hardest to get back into his enclosure right now. You're a silly big man, aren't you? So the snakes are escape artists. So this snake hasn't definitely been dumped. It is a huge possibility that it could have been dumped. There was even some very entertaining comments like this one right here, talking about how they should be banned because so many are dumped. If you want to go into figures, in 2021 and 2022, dogs were the most abandoned animal here in the UK according to the RSPCA's figures. There were over 14,000 dogs dumped here in the UK. There was over 10,000 cats that were abandoned and dumped here in the UK. And snakes, believe it or not, were only about 680. There was not that many snakes dumped and abandoned. We got to think about with those numbers, the cats and dogs were probably even higher than that, because there are a lot more people that will find a dog or a cat and take it in and not really report it. They'll rescue it themselves, whereas there's not so many people that will take in a snake. And there's not only that, but the snakes won't survive in our climate. So a majority of the snakes and things that are found abandoned here in the UK are all dead. They usually die within about 24 hours because of our cold climate. These guys on average need a basking spot of about 32 degrees. They're not going to find that very easily here in the UK, especially around winter, spring and autumn time. Very hard for them to get that. So majority of them die off. And then of course the dogs and cats that are dumped, the cats especially, will survive, thrive, kill off and wipe out entire species of birds, local animals. They will also breed with local wildcats, or have been documented breeding with local wildcats. Apparently it's very hard to find a pure wildcat now because their bloodline is so muddied with domesticated cats. Dogs will hunt down and kill farmers' sheep and things like that. So the adverse effect of dogs and cats escaping here in the UK is far more detrimental than when the reptiles escape, because they literally just die. That's it. Dogs, cats will kill everything. Snakes literally die themselves because they cannot survive. So if you're talking about banning pets, you really want to ban cats and dogs as well. However, I do not think that's the case. I do not think banning any animal will solve anything. I think the best thing we can do here is maybe create some sort of register or list, especially of the big animals, the big dogs, the big snakes, the big lizards, all that kind of things, so that the people that are buying them are maybe going to think a bit more carefully about buying these giant animals who are tiny when they first get them, but of course get massive, like Mr. Hunter here. So maybe a list, or chipping the animals, so if the animal's ever found, they could be returned back to their owner, or their owner could be contacted to find out why that animal was found in the wild. I definitely do not think banning any animal is a good idea. And just like Shelley, the yellow belly slider that we have downstairs, they made yellow bellies illegal to rehome and sell in the EU because people were releasing them, but because they were made illegal to sell or rehome, more people released them because they couldn't sell or rehome them. So there we go. So that's not a very good solution to the problem. And the problem itself is not really with the reptiles, but with other animal owners as well. Another comment I seen in there was, is it venomous? There are only a very small handful of venomous keepers here in the UK. You can actually find a list of it somewhere on the internet and see exactly where they are. There was one in Scotland and he no longer keeps them. There are only a few of them in England. There are only a couple of venomous keepers here in the UK. There are some rear-fanged venomous, like our false water cobra here, Shelby. We also have the mangrove snake there. Your rear-fanged venomous stuff, the stuff that is more commonly found as pets, are not life-threatening. They're not going to end your life. Their venom is no worse than a bee sting, but it's extremely rare you're ever going to find even a rear-fanged, mildly venomous snake. Majority, if not every snake I've seen, have either been corn snakes, boas, or large pythons that have been abandoned, dumped, or lost out there scared in the wilderness. Shelby here, even though she is an escape artist and very, very energetic, she does not escape. Although her boyfriend has escaped a couple of times, but my room is animal proof. So when they escape their enclosures, they can't get out of the animal room because all the doors, windows, and everything are sealed up. So guys, there's a top tip for you to stop your animals from escaping, is have your animal room, or the place where your animals are, completely sealed up. And that way, if you do have an escapee, it's not going to get out and you're not going to lose your precious baby. Isn't that right, Mrs. Shelby? Yes, it is. You're a beautiful false water cobras, isn't you? You're pretties. So let's talk about what you should do if you ever find yourself out walking your dog, walking with your kids, and you find a stray reptile, a big snake in particular, or a big lizard. What should you do? Should you wrestle it like Steve Irwin? No, you should not. It's common sense, but you just give it some space. Leave it alone and contact the correct people, either the SSPCA, RSPCA, if you have a friend who has reptiles, that kind of thing, someone who you know is competent and confident with these animals. Give them a call. Do not attempt to wrestle a giant snake if you come across one, not because it's going to deliberately eat your dog and eat your child, but believe it or not, these guys also have feelings and they can feel scared as well. If that reptile is still alive, it's out there in the freezing cold. Captive bred reptiles will actually thrive in smaller spaces. They like their enclosures. It's a safe place for them. It's whole or hollow, just like they would be in the wild. They don't have any protective weapons. They don't have anything to protect themselves with. So they feel very exposed when out in the open. Hunter, as you can see, is a massive teddy bear. He's used for, we take him to schools and to to people's homes and things like that and educate them on these awesome and amazing animals. But if he was left out in the open, away out there in the freezing cold, he would be scared and he would be a different kettle of fish. He would be defensive. He would think everything was trying to eat him. He would be uncomfortable, scared because he's freezing cold. He would not be in a good place, and that's an animal that I know is bomb-proof and healthy. So just bear that in mind if you ever find a large snake or a reptile in the wild, that they are going to be scared and they're going to be cold and uneasy. And unfortunately, they don't have a voice and can't tell you that. So just leave it alone and contact the right person. It's not going to chase you. It's not going to chase your dog, and it's not going to chase your kids. It will just want to be left alone, and that's that. It'll be up to a professional to come and pick him up and do what they need to do with him, take him home, get him warmed up, and probably get a vet involved, because these guys can catch colds like the rest of us, but the cold can actually kill them. So they don't thrive in our climate, and they don't survive, and they won't be happy, that's for sure, to be out of their nice cozy enclosures, out of their nice cozy beds, and in our horrible cold climate here in the UK. And what should you do if you're on the other end of the scale? If you've got one of these awesome, amazing animals and you've maybe fallen ill, you maybe have lost your house, you can't keep these animals anymore. Now, I know it's very hard to rehome them, but it's always a good idea, even if you're not planning on rehoming them, if you're not planning on falling ill, if you have one of these giant animals, have a backup plan. Have a friend who you know can take these guys in a pinch. If you become homeless, if you become ill, if you just can't look after them anymore, if you have a friend that can take that animal for you, and don't dump it. Do not set it out in the wild. That animal's going to die a slow, horrible, agonizing death. It's not going to do well. Even contact the SSPCA, something like that. They can hopefully take the animal in. There are loads of places and loads of people that can take these animals in. There is no need to dump them. It's highly frowned upon in the exotic keeping community to be done. So do not think for a second that all of us exotic keepers don't love our pets and just throw them away willy-nilly. Because I love my animals, and there's no way I would ever see one die a horrible, cold, freezing, scared death out there in the woods or in the water or anything like that. So there's always, I've got backup plans. I've got friends I know that I could take my animals from me if anything detrimental was ever to happen in my life and affect my animals. Oh, you're a big boy. So it's a very small minority that would dump their animals, get rid of their animals carelessly and heartlessly. To put it into perspective, how small a minority it is. According to the RSPCA, there is estimated to be 1.8 million exotic keepers here in the UK. That's a lot of animals. And out of 1.8 million, there was only 685 abandoned. That is a very small minority. And like I said before, you can't guarantee they were abandoned. Some may be beloved pets that just escaped, unfortunately. So guys, make sure you have locks on those enclosures. This is another animal that you will see dumped from time to time, or that I have seen in the headlines dumped, are boas. They commonly misname these boa constrictors. They're actually boa imperators, is majority of what you'll find. Owners of true boa constrictors paid a lot of money for their animals, so I don't think they would dump them, that's for sure. You guys out there might be saying, Reptile Rich, you keep snakes. You're going to be biased and say you should be able to keep the snakes and things like that. I'll tell you for free, all of the proper exotic keepers want their animals to be kept nicely. They do not condone dumping of animals, releasing of animals. There's probably 98% of us out there would really turn their nose up, really boils our blood when animals are dumped, when animals are discarded like just rubbish. But I'm an animal lover. I love everything from scaly to furry to feathery, all animals. So it doesn't just get my back up when I see reptiles dumped. It gets my back up when I see all kinds of animals dumped, dogs, cats, animal cruelty. I am a firm believer people should have done to them what they do to animals. In the past, I've rescued and rehomed quite a lot of animals, Boa imperators are one of my most commonly met animals that I see. I once took in a male whose old owner had been stubbing cigarettes out down his back, had been burning that poor snake. That snake never ever forgave humanity. He would give you a little nip now and then thinking that you were a way to burn him. So these animals remember and they feel just the same as your cats and dogs. So please bear that in mind if you ever find one out in the wild, and please bear that in mind if you ever think about, you know, tarring the exotic community with the same brush. We're all animal lovers. It's just that we love all animals, including snakes, bugs, beasties, and all that kind of stuff. We really don't want to see them dumped, guys. So if you can't cope with your animals, if you can't afford your animals, please, like I say, just phone around, message around. There's plenty of Facebook groups, there's plenty of people in every town and city that keep these animals. There's going to be someone somewhere, even if you have to put it up for free, even if you have to give it to someone and take a loss on that. I know if you're financially struggling, you're maybe going to think, oh, I can sell the animal and make a quick penny. But sometimes if you're in a desperate situation, letting the animal go to a responsible keeper for free is better than dumping it in the woods and giving all of us other responsible exotic keepers a bad name. So guys, I couldn't urge you enough, please don't dump your animals. And if you guys are out there and you see one of these animals out there, don't automatically assume that it's been dumped. Like I said, there could be 100 explanations that it could be there, and that animal itself, if it's still alive, is going to be very scared and feel very frightened. So just give it some space and phone an expert or phone someone to come out and rescue that poor little baby. So guys, thank you very much for tuning in. That was a bit more of a serious one than our normal posts here today, but we'll be back to our fun and games on the next episode, don't you worry. If you enjoyed this video, you can subscribe through my ugly mug right there. You can watch the next playlist right there, or there'll be a random video selected for you right there. Take it easy. Peace.